And welcome back into NFL Daily Live. I am Tom Downey, producer Stone Shields behind the scenes on today's show. NFL free agency, I guess, is still technically underway. It has very much died off with some old guys, couple notable offensive linemen, such as Tevin Jenkins out there, and quarterbacks still yet to be determined. And most notably, Aaron Rodgers with no end in sight, which also means the end could come in a day. It certainly would not be terribly surprising there. Where do you think Aaron Rodgers will end up signing? G for the Giants, V for the Vikings. He completes the prophecy and fulfills the Brett Favre career arc. S for the Steelers, and R for retirement. As Steelers and Giants both clearly have him as their number one quarterback option. Sounds like Rodgers has the Vikings as his number one spot, but I'm not convinced the Vikings want him. Because, again, if the Vikings wanted him, it'd be done, right? But also it's Rodgers, so, everything's kind of on the table still a little bit there. And the dark horse there is retirement as well. Get those votes in, G, S, V, or R. Steelers lead the way right now, 37%. Giants have 23% of the vote. Vikings at 19%, 21% say retire. So I think kind of good balance there in terms of a lot of different votes coming in for all four options. So keep the votes coming. We'll check in on this again a couple times throughout today's live show, because that is kind of, once Rodgers signs, I think kind of the rest of the quarterback market gets sorted out. Or at a certain point, teams might go, we're not waiting anymore. We got to move on here. This is the Super Chat menu on today's show. Any Super Chat equals a shout-out. $20. We'll do a shot, which we're almost out of, or the Bean Boozled, if you prefer that, which is the potentially nasty jelly bean flavors. We're all out of the good flavors, by the way, so that's kind of highly concerning. $50 for a beer bong as well. That is the Super Chat menu on today's show. Appreciate any and all that do come in. Let's go to draft talk, because we'll run through Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft and also discuss Cam Ward in general here. What is the percent chance that the Titans end up drafting Cam Ward at number 1 overall? I've kind of waffled on this a little bit. I don't know if I actually did a mock draft that didn't have Cam Ward going number 1, because I was always like, I'll do it after the combine. And then we got to free agency, and it's kind of never. There was a point I thought that they were going to go in a different direction and trade down. I was kind of convinced the Giants were going to move up there. That's not the vibe I get anymore. Vibe I kind of get is Tennessee has been so quiet at quarterback. Like, they signed Brandon Allen, whatever. But they haven't actually pursued any of the notable quarterback options. And all of that points to me thinking they're going to take Cam Ward. Not set in stone. Obviously, there's a month and a couple weeks before the actual NFL draft. But I am curious how this all ends up playing out. So, give me the percent chance the Titans end up drafting Cam Ward at number 1 overall. I see 95% from the Gaming Wizard, 50-50 from Shelly, and 100 from Big Jack 757. Keep the votes coming in there. I don't know what the actual percent is. I'm sure I could find the odds on it somewhere, but I do think Cam Ward ends up going number 1 overall. And I kind of think if the Titans were not going to take Cam Ward, they would have traded the pick already. Like, they would have moved down and found a trade partner before free agency so they could go get a quarterback and not, best case, get Winston, which is fun, but it's not a long-term solution. They haven't really shown much interest in Winston. So it's all curious to me. And Winston could certainly still come in as a backup mentor guy, but that's kind of Brandon Allen's role too. So I'm curious how it all plays out. 100% from Big Jack, and then Mike Nintendo Master has 65. Now, it's fine if you want to take your favorite team's free agent signing as part of this question. But what do you think is the best NFL free agency signing so far? Let me know in the comments of today's video. We'll give some shout out here. Stone, if you have an answer that you're a big fan of, don't you dare get up there and say Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Don't you dare take that path for me.
I mean, you're not gonna like this as a Cowboys guy, but Howie might have done it again with the Azeez Ojulari. I think I've been saying for a long time the Bengals should go after him, and they didn't. And
I like Azeez Ojulari. I don't think that's my favorite one.
Yeah.
But he's coming off an injury too.
Yeah.
But I think it's a logical one. I also saw some screenshots of Azeez Ojulari against Hassan Reddick comparison, which is cool until you remember the fact that Reddick wasn't even playing edge the first 3 years of his NFL career. So we kind of can't compare first 4 years when he wasn't really an edge going. I kind of think that's an unfair comparison. Shelley's got Milton Williams to the Patriots. I kind of agree with Gaming Wizard, and I made this note during live. I am a big DJ Reed fan. I think that contract, I think he's a better player than Carlton Davis. They're very different styles, make no mistake. I think DJ Reed's actually a great fit in Detroit. And to get him cheaper than Davis, from the numbers I saw initially, I think is really good value there. So keep the comments coming. Best NFL free agent signing so far. And remember, the goal here on all of our shows at Chat Sports is a 50% like ratio. By the way, Chua Lore's got Mac Jones to the Niners, which, sure. Godmod's got Justin Reed. I like the player. The value's good. I do kind of wonder what the Saints' big long-term goal is there. I don't. Signing Justin Reed is a good move by a contender. I question if the Saints should even be trying to be contenders, or if they should kind of embrace a bit of an actual rebuild. But they keep finding ways to be playoff playoff threats at least. So I'll give them credit there. 50% like ratio is the goal. We ever get to 50% before I ask for it, it's at least a shot, if not a beer bong. So like the video if you haven't already, please and thank you. Coming up on today's live edition of NFL Daily, we'll break down some news and rumors, free agency, and some draft stuff as we begin to get closer to that. A mailbag, you can use hashtag NFL, like Mike I saw did earlier, or Super Chat. Skip the line altogether. If you don't use hashtag NFL, it's really hard for Producer Stone to find your questions and bring them up on screen, and then it just kind of gets a little bit, it just gets bogged down because we ask questions of you guys too, and they all get lost in the shuffle. So use hashtag NFL for questions, thoughts, concerns, statements, whatever. We got you covered on that one for the mailbag. And we'll run through Daniel Jeremiah's latest 2025 NFL mock draft, all coming up live here on NFL Daily. We have seen some great subscriber growth through NFL Free Agency and also our March Madness coverage as well. If you haven't already, hit that sub button for me. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. 153 subs away from our next milestone. I can pretty much guarantee there will be at least 153 people who are not subscribed that are watching the show right now. So if that's you, change it. Hit that sub button right now. The probably most notable NFL free agent left unsigned is Aaron Rodgers. The Giants, Steelers, maybe the Vikings, we'll talk about that, continue to wait on a decision from Aaron Rodgers. Sports Illustrated, the Steelers subsite for them, reports that the Steelers and Rodgers have now spoken for the first time in days. That for the past several days, there has been no communication from Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers, and I assume that the Giants are part of that conversation as well, and that the details aren't really known, but they've at least resumed communication, which is kind of insane to me, that the quarterback doesn't have a team picked out when he's got off. That's very unusual, but it's Rodgers. It's all unusual in the end. The Giants, meanwhile, the other top contender for Rodgers at the moment, have a ton of interest. NFL Network reports that they are comfortable with a potentially prolonged wait for Aaron Rodgers. But in the meantime, the Giants have indeed continued to pursue or at least explore alternative options. They've brought in several quarterbacks for visits. Joe Flacco, which screams backup QB if they draft a youngster in round one. Jameis Winston, who could probably be a bit of both. He wouldn't preclude the Giants from drafting somebody, but if you had to, you could toss him out there and let Malik Neighbors go for 1,300 yards and 9 scores as Winston puts up a 30-30 campaign, but it'd be entertaining. And then Russell Wilson, who is very much, I think, the alternative for both Pittsburgh and New York to Aaron Rodgers, as Russ kind of continues to wait from that. Now, of note, the Vikings, maybe interest. There's kind of conflicting reports about how interested the Vikings actually are, and maybe they haven't given Rodgers a firm no, or it was a check back later, and that could fit in with the current report speculation that Rodgers might wait until the draft, which is insane to me. But I think Rodgers wants to be a Viking, but there has been no done deal, which makes me wonder if the Vikings have any true interest in Aaron Rodgers. I think there are 4 viable options right now, barring a surprise emergence from like Tennessee or something. The Giants, the Vikings, Steelers, or retirement. I don't think also can be ruled out quite yet. So, Where will Aaron Rodgers end up signing? G for the Giants, V for the Vikings, S for the Steelers, and R for he elects to retire. It is the pinned comment on today's show, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Now, Ian Rapoport, and I don't know if this was like really in-depth reporting or just like kind of more speculation because it's Rodgers. He said that Rodgers could elect to wait until after the NFL draft to make a decision. And honestly, that is wild to me. That is so wild. Even for Rodgers, which there's always something with him. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good, sometimes just attention worthy. But that I just don't get it. Like if you're the Giants or the Steelers, can you afford to wait? Because if he's really trying to wait and wait and wait, what if he just signs with you or signs anywhere? You can't be left with no quarterback option. Like at some point you have to have a deadline of we got to make a decision here. And if we miss out, so be it. We got to pivot to Russ or to a draft pick and go trade up or do something there. I also question, does this actually benefit Aaron Rodgers at all? Does waiting another month and change to pick your team actually help you out? Continues to delay your status of learning the offense. Not that it's going to be an issue for him, but that's less time that you have to get up to speed. You potentially actually eliminate your destinations. Like if the Giants get antsy and somehow overpay to get to 2 or 1 or whatever, which may or may not happen, I'll talk about Cam Ward in a little bit here, that's one option down. And Pittsburgh just says, F it, we're going to bring back Russ. Well, then now where are you going? The quarterback market all kind of waits on Rodgers right now because Russ is clearly, from the way the NFL has handled things, Giants and Pittsburgh, that's the number 2 option for both teams. The Browns lurk and linger as a Russell Wilson option, and maybe one of those where Russ wants Pittsburgh or New York, and if he misses out on both somehow, then he goes to Cleveland or whatever. Jameis Winston kind of stuck in a holding pattern until the top 2 guys go, and he has to settle for a backup spot, or one comes open as a starter. And then Flacco kind of in the backup range, and then Drew Lock is a backup somewhere at some point, I suppose, this year, although I don't think the NFL is quite high on Lock at this time. Now, you can get NFL jerseys for your favorite team and player, all of them, including Marvin Harrison Jr., now available over at chatsports.com/NFL jersey. We'll put that link in both the comment section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Men's and women's are also available. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Let's go to Trey Hendrickson here. The Bengals got deals done, officially announced today with a press conference and everything, with both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And they want the same with Trey Hendrickson. That does not mean it'll happen, but I think there's a lot more optimism for the Bengals than there was, right after he was granted permission to seek a trade. Near as I can gather, and from what the reporting has been, sounds like Hendrickson's camp said, we can get the contract we want and fetch you a first-round pick back. And the Bengals said, okay. And then Hendrickson's camp said, actually, we can't get you a first-round pick or close to it. And they said, okay. And now with more cap space freed up by paying Higgins and Chase, they're kind of back negotiating again. What that number looks like, I don't know. There's a pretty big gap right now between Nick Bosa at number 3 and Josh Hines-Allen at number 4. A $34 versus $28.25 million per year difference. That's sizable. And we're approaching $6 million per year there. My guess is somewhere between those two figures is where Hendrickson ends up slotting in. He's not going to get 40 at his age. I don't know if he's going to get to 35 like he probably wants either. But if the Bengals can guarantee a bit more of the lifetime of the contract, maybe they end up finding a way to get things done. And they certainly have the money available. They're not paying anybody, really, especially with the way the salary cap's gone up. And they don't have viable alternatives at edge rusher. Myles Murphy's been a non-factor so far. Cam Sample is coming off injury, is like a rotational piece at best. Joseph Asai is not a number 1 and might not be a number 2 edge either. The defense, which is bad, cannot afford to lose Hendrickson without a real alternative plan in place, which so far I haven't seen. So predictions. What will the Bengals do with Trey Hendrickson? T for they trade him. P for they pay him. Or N for they do nothing and they just let things ride out. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Now, Cam Ward ESPN reports the Titans are both comfortable with Cam Ward, and the Giants' trade-up efforts appear to be dead. Now, the last one came from Jordan Renan, the Giants reporter. The first part came from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. Here's what he reported. From what I gather, they seem pretty comfortable with Cam Ward. There's some momentum there. With other teams I've talked to league-wide that feel like they're just going to sit there and take Ward. I know the interviews with Ward have gone well. They feel comfortable with like the mistakes he made on the field. They feel like he's done a good job of explaining those and be coached and can correct them. He's got obvious upside on top of that. So you equal all that out, you sense a little momentum for the Titans to sit put. Now, the Titans quarterback room is not good right now. It's simply not. It's Will Levis and Brandon Allen. And the signing of Brandon Allen was like, okay, that's not a real option for anything resembling a starting situation. It's just not. So with Tennessee having no real interest in adding a QB of note right now, and knowing they cannot run it back with Will Levis and no other alternatives, it certainly feels like it's Cam Ward, right? Like that's the plan for Tennessee. You know, he had a great year for Miami. There are some gunslinger tendencies that I think Fowler kind of mentioned with some of the mistakes on the field that I do think are valid red flags. But in a bad quarterback class, seems like he's pretty close, emphasize on close, to the consensus number one QB. So what is the percent chance the Titans end up drafting Cam Ward at number 1 overall? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Let's move to some recent free agency signings, rapid fire on our NFL free agency tracker. Juan Thornhill, love him. Always been a fan of his game. Love might be a bit strong, but whatever. 1-year deal with Pittsburgh to provide some safety depth. Jay Tufele, re-signing with the Jets on what I assume is a vet minimum contract. Isaiah Loudermilk, the Steelers defensive lineman. Again, no details on that. We're kind of in the cheap guy sign, so we don't get the details for a week stage of free agency. Teron Neal, who kind of got some corner safety special teams ability. 2-year deal with San Francisco. Speaking of special teams, Travis Homer, a 1-year, $2 million deal. To go back to the Bears, Lane Johnson, an extension for an extra year with Philadelphia, now under contract through 2027. Jeffrey Okudah, a 1-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings, the former top 5 pick, trying to kind of rehab his stock a little bit there. Victor Dimukeje, one of those two, with the Giants, kind of a buy low. Maybe this year it'll be different signing at edge or as an edge rusher. David Moore, back with the Carolina Panthers. That's probably going to be a cheap 1-year deal. Garrett Bradbury, who had been cut by the Vikings, has signed a 2-year, $12 million deal. Only $3.8 million guaranteed. So that is very much kind of more of a, close to probably like a 1-year 4, 1-year 5 team option for year 2, basically given that amount of limited guaranteed funds there for Garrett Bradbury to give them a viable option at center, even though he's like an okay center. Doug Kramer, back with the Bears on a 1-year deal. Backup offensive tackle Landon Young is back with the Saints. I would assume a 1-year deal there. Nate Landman, not the TV series, a 1-year deal with the LA Rams as well. Not a ton of moves, but some ones I at least wanted to make mention of. Now it is mailbag time here on NFL Daily. I've seen some good ideas and comments and explain to me, Zaire and Luis, got to add the hashtag NFL. Or else producer Stone cannot find your question and get it up on screen. So if you have questions, comments, thoughts, whatever, use hashtag NFL in the comments section or super chat. Get on the show no matter what. I think we can do Chris Broussard's burner account as not part of the cut. And I'll have to rely on you with this one here too. So get your questions in via hashtag NFL or else Stone cannot find your questions. And there will be no mailbag, which would be kind of disappointing. So if you have questions, thoughts, whatever, use that hashtag NFL. We'll go back to it here in a second. Chris Broussard's favorite OT7 Quanti song. Okay, this can't be real. Come on. Stone's got nothing, and Stone is our youth here. Okay, he's a real person. I got nothing for you. The top result is get that money. So I guess that's that one. Again, this is brought to you by the How Do You Do, Fellow Kids moment of the show, which is always something there. So get your questions in via hashtag NFL or skip the line like Chris Broussard's burner did by using a super chat as well. The hashtag NFL is the free part. Let me do one thing here. Okay. Need more. Let me get my notes pulled up here for draft stuff too, so I'm not scrambling. Sorry, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, should be good. Notes, everything else pulled up here. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Get your questions in via hashtag NFL or skip the line altogether via Super Chat. Again, if you're not using the hashtag NFL, they're just not going to come through. Stone's not going to be able to find them. So, as soon as we get the all clear there from producer Stone, we will. Oh, I actually forgot one more thing I got to get up here, too. My bad. As soon as we get the all clear there from Stone, we'll dive into today's mailbag cut. Let's get it going right now. Again, get those questions in via hashtag NFL. Before we get into today's NFL mailbag, this is your chance to rep your team. Shout out your favorite NFL team so we don't get a bunch of weird soccer questions in the comments of today's show. Let's see which fan base is showing up the most on today's video. From True Allure, what is the trade value for Brandon Aiyuk? It's a good question. Coming off the injury with the contract, I'll pull up the nitty-gritty numbers here. I'm not terribly sure what he command. The thing that I keep reminding myself of is the DeForest Buckner trade, where they flipped him for a first-round pick and then spent a first-round pick on Javon Kinlaw. The Niners eat like $18.4 million on a fairly cheap $11 million cap hit. I'm looking at what the new team would owe, and it's really just, it's not a lot of money. And the option bonus is $22.855, and my suspicion is that the new team would actually pay the majority of that. But even then, you're looking at $23 million this year, $24 million next year. The way that contract is actually, as I look at it more in depth, the way it's actually designed, it's not that prohibitive to moving on from Aiyuk if you wanted to long term. You're just kind of eating a giant chunk of the signing bonus with the way that the deal was structured there. So it's affordable. It's a question if you trust him coming off the injury. If I were the Niners, I would not consider trading him unless I got a first-round pick back. It's up to NFL teams supposed to listen to all offers. But I'm not seriously trying to pursue an off which I've moved on from a lot of talent and let them go. That's all fine. I'm not seriously considering a receiving core led by Ricky Parasol, Juwan Jennings, and Jacob Cowing in year one of what could be a long Brock Purdy extension. That's not feasible to me. Also from Ryan, we'll stick with the Brandon Aiyuk conversation here. Will the Niners trade him? My gut says no. My gut says they will not move on from Aiyuk. They'll get him back. They could always revisit the conversation next year, although the contract is still a little bit of a question mark with the way it's set up. But you just paid him. He's been really good. I know that last year was kind of a mess across the board. The Niners, to me, are coming off we're being much more deliberately cost conscientious instead of saying cheap. I have doubts that they would actually trade him. But what do you think? Good job on the fly, Stone. Will the Niners actually trade Brandon Aiyuk? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Will the Niners actually move on from their number one receiver? If the ad comes on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. From Mike Nintendo Master, why is it such a big deal about where Aaron Rodgers will sign? The reason is because two NFL teams badly want him. The Steelers and the Giants are very clearly waiting on a decision. Now, you might not like that, and I actually get that to a decent extent because it's Rodgers and he's shown signs of decline, etc. But both of those teams they want him, and they're waiting. And wherever Rodgers doesn't go, that'll free up Russell Wilson. So it is a big deal, not because we think Rodgers is still Hall of Fame Rodgers, but he's probably still a fringe top 20 QB. That's better than a lot of QBs out there. And in theory, it will also lead to a big-time, domino effect of other quarterbacks finding new destinations. Zaire Brown, if I'm Dallas, put together a trade package for a 3rd or 4th round pick, Tolbert, Deuce, and Clark on the block for a 3 or 4, possibly sign Lockett. As of filming, no decision on Tyler Lockett. I think that makes sense if they want a more viable number 2 short-term option. Sure, trading Tolbert and Deuce and Damone Clark are great, but I don't think anyone's going to move a 3 or a 4 for those guys. I think Damone Clark is a prime cut candidate when we get to the offseason. Maybe you get lucky and someone sends you a late day 3 pick for him. And I don't think Deuce Vaughn has any real trade value. Tolbert might, but I think we're talking like a 5th or a 6th, not a 3 or a 4 there. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action, especially with March. And the madness of it is underway. You can get in on the action with Prize Picks. Over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's not just basketball. It's not just football. You can get in on baseball as well with some Prize Picks action. Season-long ones. Then we'll get to some, game-by-game Prize Picks slates once opening day arrives. Here's one of the ones that our MLB guy, Jack Lottery, cooked up there. I'm just going to trust him. I do the flex play. That way, if I get one wrong, I still cash out. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Marcus Arnold, Tom, I'm scared. Please tell me Mingo isn't wide receiver 2. I will make note. That's not their plan. Tolbert is by far a better option right now for the Cowboys than Jonathan Mingo. That's not to say it's a good enough option. I would be surprised if they didn't go after another option in terms of adding a receiver 2 in the draft, most likely. So I don't think that their plan is Mingo to be receiver 2. And if that does happen, it might be because Mingo really, really plays well. From Andy, Bills Mafia, I'm not going to butcher your last name there, Andy. Have the Bills dominated NFL free agency so far? To recap, Joey Bosa, Josh Palmer, Larry Ogunjobi, Michael Hook, Kendrick Green, Darrington Evans, Laviska Shenault. The Josh Allen extension was, and Gregory Rousseau and Khalil Shakir, I think were actually probably pretty good moves. They got something, if not really good moves, got something for Khair Elam. I like the Bosa move. Josh Palmer, I think, fits pretty well in that wide receiving core long term. The Larry Ogunjobi PED suspension that they didn't know about doesn't look great, but they'll figure things out there. I don't know if dominated is the right word, but I think there's plenty of optimism and reasons to be excited about what the Bills have done. Plus, we already know they're pretty damn close. From Jordan, will the Patriots find a taker for Joe Milton? I have doubts about the interest in Joe Milton. Like, I get he had a great final regular season game. Did anyone watch him in the preseason? He completed like 30% of his passes. It's not good. He also was like kind of that guy at Tennessee. He'd have a great game and a terrible game. Like, just like terrible type of results. Great, bad, great, bad. It's a bad quarterback class, so I wouldn't be shocked if somebody had interest. I think the report was that they wanted a 3rd rounder. You trade a 3rd, you think he's your guy? I don't think he's anybody's guy. It's not how I vowed him coming out of Tennessee. Having a Matt Flynn 2.0 game doesn't really move the needle that much for me. So what draft pick is Joe Milton worth? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. And if Patriots fans want to hype things up, sure, go for it. Luis Ortiz, is there a limit on how many can be invited to camp and OTAs? So roster-wise, you get 90 players. Now, you can do like rookie invites and rookie minicamp invites if only to like kind of, be able to get through practices. Like you'll often see like quarterbacks get invited. If a team does not have a quarterback at the rookie minicamp, they're going to invite somebody. And they'll invite some other minor guys that sometimes end up making the team too. But there is the 90-man roster limit. Now, do you love the NFL? hit that sub button. If you do, we will have more videos for you each and every single day here on the channel. More hosts, more videos. Don't miss out. Subscribe right now. Flash feedback. What's more probable? Sanders being taken in the top 3 or falling out of the top 3? This is a great question. So I would say the least likely is that he actually goes between 4 and 19. To kind of answer the question, because my gut still tells me if Titans go Cam Ward at 1, the Browns local reporters all make it sound like they're going to take a QB. So I would lean towards Shedeur going 2. But if Shedeur doesn't go 2, and if he doesn't then go 3 to the Giants, I would fully expect him to fall down to like Pittsburgh at 21. So I think there's kind of like reverse bell curve of like high probability going 2 or 3, and then after he gets past 3, he ain't going for a while probably. And maybe a team trades up, but I think it's kind of like in the Kenny Pickett draft range. So I lean slightly towards top 3, then outside the top 20, and then like very small chance of 5 to 20, if that makes sense. Ronaldo, will the Falcons still trade Kirk Cousins? I think that they would like to. I don't believe that they are like, yeah, we're fine paying $30 million to a backup QB. I think they would love to find a trade partner. And they probably have to eat a lot of the money to do that, though. And maybe they do. But with the way the quarterback market's kind of played out a little bit here, I don't know where the great destination is. I thought the Browns could be a great fit if he got cut. And it almost kind of sounds like the Browns had planned to bring in Kirk Cousins if he got cut. And they kind of realized that wasn't happening. And they ended up pivoting to Kenny Pickett, who's also bad. So I don't know what happens to Kirk Cousins. I'm not closing the door, though, on that front. I want you to name a player who you think ends up getting traded. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Bonus points in whose line style, they don't really matter if you end up getting it right on who that player ends up being. Godmod says Derek Carr to the Giants. I think the Saints' decision to restructure Carr's contract, again, means they're not going to move on from him. Again, I kind of want to see the Saints fully rebuild. I think Derek Carr would be an upgrade over some of the other viable options out there for a team like the Giants, but it seems like that one's kind of run its course. LaCour Victor, could New England sign Stephon Diggs and draft T-Mac in the draft? And could Drake May break out in 2025 and beyond? I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think all the young QBs who got real playing time this past year, there's a lot of reasons to be like, yeah, we're super excited about this guy. The stuff I saw from Drake May behind a really bad offensive line, I am very encouraged by. I liked him a lot coming out of North Carolina. I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited about him as they move forward. He ain't ever going to be Brady, but he can still be a damn good NFL QB. Diggs and T-Mac, possible. I don't know how much interest there is league-wide in Stephon Diggs. He might have to wait till after the draft, too. I don't know if T-Mac goes top 5. If in really top 6. Top 6 maybe to the Raiders, but they might take Ashton Genty in the end. But T-Mac at 4, I would not be mad at it, and gets the Patriots a real, true number 1 receiver. They also might be able to get Hunter or Abdul Carter, which would be a no-brainer for them. All right, what is the best NFL free agent signing so far? Let me know in the comment section of today's video. Let me sip some water here. Excuse me. What is the best NFL free agent signing so far? Let me know in the comments of today's show. No wrong answers. It's all opinion-based here, which always fun when excuse me, you get some of those. Let me know in the comments of today's show the best NFL free agent signing so far. I know Stone went with Azeez Ojulari. I liked the DJ Reed pickup by the Lions. I've been a big fan of Reed's game for a while now. I see not Milton Williams for $104 million. I'm a little bit willing to be like more like that's fine for New England. Like they have so much money available. At some point, they kind of just have to spend it, and it doesn't prevent them from doing anything else. Let's see. Saw one on Luke Farrell. Okay. It's not been a great free agency for the Niners, if we're being objective. I haven't loved their moves, and they've lost their guys. Math and Makeup's got Hassan Reddick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So keep the comments coming. Your favorites NFL free agent signings so far, as we will get into the Daniel Jeremiah 2025 NFL mock draft coming up right now. If you are excited for the 2025 NFL Draft we are rapidly approaching, show it by liking today's video. We are about to break down Daniel Jeremiah's latest NFL mock draft. Of note, this video filmed live on NFL Daily, then going up on our draft channel first, before then being posted on the Chat Sports YouTube channel. But whichever one you're watching on, make sure you like today's video. Number 1 for Daniel Jeremiah, it is Cam Ward, the quarterback out of Miami to the Tennessee Titans. There's been some growing buzz / almost expectation of Cam Ward going number 1. Trade up is still a possibility, but I and DJ kind of mentions this, I would anticipate seeing Cam Ward go number 1, but which team it is, we'll see. Abdul Carter goes number 2 here. He mentions Carter and a QB in round 2 versus Shedeur Sanders at 2 and edge in the second. But he argues in favor of taking Abdul Carter with the number 2 pick. Of note, the quarterback he may have wanted for the Browns, he then put somewhere else. We'll go back to that in a little bit. The Giants then take Shedeur Sanders at number 3 overall. And he makes, if Carter was there, maybe the Giants changed their mind. But he does have Sanders going number 3. There had been some buzz coming out instantly at the combine of maybe Shedeur falls. But a lot of the quote-unquote insider mock drafts are now kind of back putting Shedeur at 2 or at 3. The range for Shedeur Sanders is kind of open. Raiders seemingly off the board, having added Geno Smith. But 2, 3, and then it's not there. There could be Aaron Rodgers, a Brady Quinn, probably not Jimmy Clausen, but still one of those style slides. So does Shedeur Sanders go in the top 3 of this year's NFL Draft? It is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Y for yes, N for no. The Patriots are almost certainly very happy with this outcome. They take Travis Hunter with the number 4 overall pick. He can play some corner. He can play some wide receiver. I think Mike Vrabel knows how to do some two-way stuff himself. He could probably make things work for Travis Hunter. Maybe he gets some more receiver reps, given the Patriots' need there, but I have no real complaints there. The Jags at 5 take Jalen Walker, which I think might have made more sense under their previous GM. DJ pitches him as an off-ball linebacker on early downs and then puts out a Josh Hines-Allen, Jalen Walker on the outside, Trayvon Walker on the inside, third down package, which is a fun group. Ashton Jeanty goes number 6, in theory to take some pressure off of Geno Smith per DJ. After adding Geno, Jeanty, I think, is very much in the cards for the Raiders at number 6. Armand Membu out of Missouri. He slots right in there at right tackle. I am actually a huge fan of him. I don't mind him being the first offensive lineman taken. There are very real issues with Will Campbell's length that Membu doesn't have to deal with there. So I actually like the fit there for Membu at 7, opposite Olu Shanu. Carolina at 8 takes Mason Graham. I like the value here. I don't think he's like, a true top 3 defensive tackle like Quinton Williams was, like player value-wise, but he should go in the top 10. I think he'd be a Christian Wilkins-esque player in the NFL. Number 9, Jihad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama. I think I'm curious how Brandon Staley would deploy him. Is he an off-ball linebacker that blitzes? Do you try him some on the edge? I see like Frankie Luvo in particular with Jihad Campbell, but I do like him. I think Jalen Walker's more edge. I think Campbell's more off-ball linebacker. I do think Campbell's a better off-ball linebacker, just maybe not as good as a pass rusher. Bears take Will Campbell at 10, which I find interesting. This would be Campbell is the left tackle, and Campbell's got short arm length. He's under 33 inches, which is a red flag for a lot of teams, and his wingspan's also super short. Sometimes you see guys, like if they have broad shoulders, their wingspans kind of get, expanded. He does not. I remember we walked by to the combine, and it was obvious just in person, like that guy's arms are not that long, and that very much tracked with the measurements. That's going to be a concern for teams. But if you think he can play tackle, you're probably got him number 1 among offensive linemen in this year's class. I want you to make sure to sub to our NFL Draft YouTube channel. This video did go up there first, by the way, still posting on both channels for now. But if you haven't already, go subscribe. YouTube.com/chatNFL. Number 11, one of my guys is here, Jahdae Barron out of Texas. The Niners kind of put themselves into a take the best player available status with some of their personnel losses this offseason. Matthew Golden, back-to-back Texas boys here at number 12. I would take T-Mac. I just think he's a better football player. I always get concerned when, for the most part, going into a combine, everyone had T-Mac as the number 1 receiver, and there was Golden Love of potential first-round pick, and then it flips to this guy should actually be the number 1 receiver. That kind of stuff scares me a little bit. I like Golden. He should go in round 1. I think McMillan would be a much better pick for the Cowboys. Not that Golden's a bad pick. Malachi Starks, the Dolphins, or the Georgia safety. Of note, Jeremiah's mock drafts are predictive, not what he thinks. He says that the further he gets into this, the more teams he finds that are in love with Malachi Starks. Which I got a first-round grade on, so I'm going to call that one a win for me. Tyler Warren out of Penn State, the tight end. I think this if he gets to 14, I think his range is kind of like 7 to 14. I think it's a no-brainer for Indy. Plug him in and give the quarterback, whoever that ends up being, an option. Will Johnson, I kind of think teams are overthinking this a little bit here. I think he's great. I saw him start at a high level for 3 years. Had some issues in 2024. I think mostly just trying to do too much, to be too much of a gambler. But he's got big corner, ball skills, and I don't think he's that slow. So I think he should go, minimum should go top 15. We'll get to the Cardinals pick, but first, you guys can get a Marvin Harrison jersey, now available on Fanatics. Plus, of course, all the other players and teams that are out there, the new free agent options, they are available. Go to chatsports.com/NFL jersey to get yours today. That's chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Go get yours today. A surprise at 16 here. Gray Zabel with DJ saying several teams in this range will target him in the draft. It's definitely been a big pre-draft riser. Man, 16 over Tyler Booker, by the way, is shocking. We'll spend some more time on Booker later on. Bengals take Mike Green at 17. As long as you trust the person, this is a no-brainer. The Bengals badly need pass rush help. I am a little surprised to see Colston Loveland going 18 to Seattle. I think JSN, who can do inside-outside stuff. Cooper Kupp can do inside-outside stuff, but does more on the inside. And then a big slot tight end weapon. I actually don't love that fit for Seattle. And given their interior offensive line needs, I know they don't value that early, but this is the right range for Loveland. I just don't love the pick at 18, but DJ said this was a value pick. Number 19, Donovan Ezeraku, who does have the production that the Bucs have historically preferred. I haven't seen him in a ton of round 1 mock drafts. I had him in my most recent one. I like that quite a bit. Marion Hampton, number 20 out of North Carolina. You get Evan Ingram, now you get your number 1 back. And I think this is the general range to keep an eye out for Marion Hampton, too. Number 21 is Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. I genuinely do not understand the round 1 buzz for Jackson Dart. You want to take him in, I think he's a better player, but in the Matt Corral range, yes, I'm down. But a quarterback who, when he had to do real offense stuff and not just schemed up Lane Kiffin deep shots and vertical stuff and easy stuff, when he had to go execute a normal drop back offense, it really wasn't actually good. And I got the numbers somewhere. The deep passing, once he got into SEC play, also really struggled. I don't see round 1 quarterback here at all. You want to add him behind a veteran, okay? I see late day 2 quarterback, and he does not have the traits that I want to invest in a developmental prospect. It's not that dissimilar from Kenny Pickett. Very different players, but I think the outcome is way too similar there. Outcome range. So will Jackson Dart go in round 1? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's video. All the way down at 22 is Teteroa McMillan, T-Mac. DJ says his range is in the top 8 or into the back end of round 1. I think he should go top 15 at minimum. I'd be really surprised if he wasn't a top 15 pick. But crazy stuff happens on draft night, and LA would love to get him. Maxwell Harrison, I like this fit as a Jair Alexander replacement. Very down year for Kentucky. All the Kentucky defense was bad this year, but it's a good player. I also love the fit of Nicky Manwari. That was my most recent mock draft. I had the exact same one. Safety, could do a lot of chess piece stuff for Brian Flores. I am a huge fan of that fit. Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas here. Number 25, this is the same pick I had as well. Plug him in at left tackle after losing Laramie Tunsil. I wouldn't rule out a trade up, by the way, from Houston. If they want to jump up to go get somebody, I would not totally rule that one out. Trey Amos, I think this is the first time he's been mocked in round 1 by DJ. He said he had speed concerns, 4.43, 40-yard dash. I feel like top 40 is where Amos ends up going in the end. Derek Harmon out of Oregon. I actually am pretty high on Harmon, so I'm glad to see him get some love here from Daniel Jeremiah. He's actually my 3rd-ranked defensive tackle in this year's class. Michael Williams out of Georgia, I actually think does fit a lot of what the Lions like. I think they need another guy that can do some inside-outside stuff. I think Williams can fit that. I think there's a big range of outcomes here. People will probably have him as a top 15 player. Some might have him in round 2, kind of late round 2. But I think he does fit in Detroit. Azarie Thomas out of Florida State, which would be very fun to see him have to play against his brother twice here. His brother is Cowboy safety Wanye Thomas, by the way. Long, rangy, pretty damn athletic corner as well. That definitely fits the Dan Quinn archetype. The Bills, I love this pick. Kenneth Grant, 30, pairing with Ed Oliver, long term. I'm a huge fan. I think that is a really good idea for Buffalo. I love the value here of Josh Simmons at 31. I have medical concerns. I think that he looked great this year. He ain't play nobody, Paul, though. Like, he didn't get matched up against Mike Green when they played Marshall. It was the opposite sides for the most part there. But I do like what I saw out of Josh Simmons this year. I think there are some unanswered questions with his overall profile. But back end of round 1 to KC, I'm all for that one. I was also very surprised that Shamar Stewart fell down to 32 in DJ's mock draft. Given that even pre-combine, he had Shamar Stewart higher. I'm pretty sure I should probably double-check that, but pretty sure he had him higher than some previous editions of what he had listed in there. I think this is how he did it again, all over again. How he did it again. He gets Shamar Stewart at 32 overall. Gets to pair him as a long-term edge. You can be patient while he develops. I think that'd be a strong pick by Philadelphia at 32. I've got concerns with the production, but at 32, yeah, I'm down. Who did Daniel Jeremiah leave out of his 2025 NFL mock draft? So the names I want to discuss. Let me know who they are in the comments of today's show. Some wide receivers that didn't go in round 1. Emeka Ibuka's kind of been in a late round 1 draft stage, but DJ had 2 receivers, so that's probably a factor. I don't know why teams are pushing down Luther Burden. The production wasn't as good this year as it was last year. His quarterback stunk. Of course it was scheme touch. They can't push the ball downfield. He's breaking open downfield for touchdowns. That doesn't even look his way. So unless there's some unknown character stuff that I've not heard anything about, I don't understand the Burden drop. Happens about once a year. A good player falls for no reason. NFL did it with Brian Branch. Maybe it's Luther Burden this year. Last time, DJ, I think, had Booker at 10 to the Bears in his mock draft. Now out of round 1. Seems noteworthy. Walter Nolan, who's got... I have consistency concerns there. He goes outside of round 1. I've got a round 2 grade him, so I feel like I got him pegged right there. James Pierce is talented. There are, motivation questions and character as part of that for James Pierce that have kind of arisen around the combine as well. All right, prediction time. Where will Aaron Rodgers sign? G for the Giants, S for the Steelers, V for the Vikings, R for retirement. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. 18% say G for the Giants, 33% say S for the Steelers, 25% each say Vikings or retire. So we got some good like balancing. I am kind of surprised to see Vikings in retirement of the Giants, but yeah, it's actually 300-ish sample size. So very intrigued by those answers there. Appreciate everyone who voted and watched today's live NFL Daily. Don't miss out on anything in the future. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv for more NFL news, rumors, and of course live NFL draft coverage. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now.